Having little idea what Vance was worried about, Rain was more irritated with him leaving Vincent unchanged. When she returned home, her mentor was waiting for her with an expression of concern. Janny could have passed for her older sister. Their resemblance was uncanny. A few inches taller, she had glossy black hair which was pulled into an intricate twist, and an oval face that denied she was anything over 20. "Where were you?" she asked, aware Rain tended to dally when there was trouble. "I was looking for a job." She felt bad about lying, but she didn't want to burden Janny with her problems. "We're doing fine, Rain." "It doesn't matter. I want to pull my own weight." "You can, by finishing your schooling." Janny set down a plate. "Eat. I want to make sure you're getting healthier." At the sound of a knock, they both looked up. Rain immediately turned to face the door. No one was supposed to know Janny was helping her. "Relax." The woman's steps were measured, though Vance was not expecting her and quickly drew back.
Sorry, I think I have the wrong house."
His eyes slid toward the cat.
"You brought me to the wrong place, you stupid thing."
Rose eeped back at him and his gaze returned to Janny's.
Rain doesn't live here, does she?"
Upon hearing his voice, the look on her face was one of pure horror, mainly due to the fact her friend would see the situation differently. Janny, however, only tilted her head. Gold eyes met gold, and it was enough to make her curious. "Rain," she arched an eyebrow. "Are you a friend of hers?"
I don't think friend is quite the right word."
"Are you her boyfriend?" Slender eyebrows rose even more.
"What? No.
Throwing up his hands, Vance flushed red.
We're, well, actually, I think she hates me. But she likes my baby brother, and he's kind of the reason I needed to talk to her."
"A baby?" Janny glanced between them. "Where are your parents?" "Ugh, Janny, he's babysitting for the weekend, and he doesn't know the first thing about infants," Rain lied. "Well, what is the problem?"
Shifting
his weight, Vance wasn't entirely sure he wanted to say anything for more reasons than one.
"Rain, you think you could just come to the house with me and I could tell you there?"
"To your house? Unsupervised?" Janny looked over flatly. "Nice try."
"What? Ugh, no. Look, it's not what you think. Trust me, we hate each other."
Vance turned toward Rain.
"Go ahead, tell her. I mean, she's practically my arch-rival, for Christ's sakes, and that's saying something considering I already have one."
"You're right, Janny." Rain knew she would have to think up a good lie. "Can I just go out for a little?" "You don't have to hide these things from me," Janny insisted with a laugh. "But I'm watching you," she said to Vance as a glimmer of threat appeared in her eyes.
"What?"
A huge question mark hung over his head, and even Rose arched a brow, which was impressive considering she was a cat. "Nothing, come on." Rain gave her friend a thankful look and all but darted out of the apartment. Nervously backing away, Vance regarded Janny with an uneasy stare, though nevertheless hurried after her.
"Who was that?"
he asked once they were far enough to be out of earshot. "Why do you care? How the hell did you find out where I live anyway?"
"Blame Rose."
He stared at the cat, who eeped at him harshly for the comment.
"And I care because if she's related to you, then survey says she's probably got similar ideals. I'm sure I don't need to remind you how you reacted the first time we met. If she finds out and decides, well, you know," he trailed. "I know you don't give a rat's ass, but Vincent hasn't done anything to anybody."
"You shouldn't have come to my house," Rain fumed. "Now she's never going to leave me alone about it. You can't tell her. You can't let her know about this mess or anything else. You better not ever show up again. If Leah sees you, you're a dead man. You're someone new. We just met. You're not human, but you're not a soul eater either. Got it?"
Yeah, sure. But apparently Vincent isn't either."
Vance gave her a nervous look.
"That's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about."
"I thought you didn't need my help." His gaze dropped.
"Look, this is gonna sound kind of pathetic, but when it comes to demonology, I don't have the first clue. You had me figured out in 10 seconds. You know more about this stuff than I do, so fine, I admit it. I need help. If not yours, somebody's."
"What's the problem?"
"Come with me."
Stopping in front of the house, he reached down to unlock the door. Without bothering to unleash Rose, he simply let her go and tore up the stairs. Vincent was still thankfully asleep.
"Get a load of this."
Walking over, Vance sat beside him and went to pull back his gums. Shark teeth. Was his mother human?
"Yeah, but so was mine. What does that have to do with anything?"
"Well, the difference." Rain looked back. "You sure she wasn't a succubus or something?" Vance shook his head.
"His mother was human. There's no arguing there. His teeth are different because he's a different species."
"A different species? How the hell did that happen? I thought you guys had the same father."
"It's not the genetics, it's the demonology. I had my suspicion, but it wasn't until you asked me about our biology back at the park that I actually thought to check." He reacts what I would consider normal in the presence of energy, but he doesn't seem to be able to absorb it. Or at least if he does, he hasn't displayed it. It's almost like the difference between a fruit bat and a vampire bat, if you can relate. They're both bats, but one is a whole other animal. Therein lies the problem.
So, what are you getting at? Ren smoothed Vinny's hair.
What I'm getting at,
Vance muttered,
is that I know how it works for me, but I haven't the slightest clue as to how it's gonna work for him. I can't take care of something if I don't know anything about it. I thought we were the same, but clearly there's a difference. And if that's the case, I'm completely in the dark. My biology isn't like a human's, and I'm not sure if his is. And if it isn't, which I'm presuming is most likely the case, then it's different from mine. I have no idea what to do with him, and more importantly, what not to.
Don't you think the kid will learn how to feed himself? Ren sat at the edge of the bed. What other demon species are there?
I don't know. I wasn't exactly schooled in this stuff. I stole a book from my house, but it's in Latin. It's gonna take some time to translate, and even if I can, it still doesn't explain his condition. Here, watch this.
Holding up a finger, he motioned for her to move away and went to take the jar with the strange orb off the shelf. Placing it beside the boy, even as he slept, he reacted to it and bared his teeth.
Okay, normal reaction. Now watch.
With the snap of his fingers, Vance summoned a little white mouse.
And you might want to take a few steps back.
After removing the jar, he carefully dangled the animal in front of his brother. A few seconds later, Vincent's eyes shut open, and with one swift snap, it was gone. Rain frowned. Don't you know Latin? I thought you were showing off in class.
I do, but the book is detailed. It's not very precise on identification.
Do you have a computer?
This house is a foreclosure. I don't have a computer, and even if I did, there's no internet. Judging by some of the things he's reacted to, he's a soul eater, but he behaves more like a sin eater, and that's not good, especially if his physiology is human. Without a hypermetabolism, he won't be able to consume the amount he needs to survive. 3 rats at this age is one thing, but as he gets bigger, the energy intake is going to increase as well. He weighs triple what I did at his age. That alone is enough to worry me.
He's a sin eater? Ren went to smooth his hair again.
I don't think so. He only ever threw up the one pig. His behavior is only suggestive and similar. He can't consume human energy. In order to do that, there's a ritual that has to be performed. Long story. Still, if he has to physically consume his meals...
Vance drew a breath through his teeth.
Well, think about it. 3 guinea pigs today turns into 3 kittens in a few years, and then 3 dogs. With someone like me, it's possible. With someone like him, that's a death sentence.
Grasping the little boy's hand, Rand looked down. What kind of ritual?
A nasty one, he replied as Vincent began to tug on one of her fingers. Grimdark initiation. The day I got Rose and my life officially ended. I don't even know if he can wield it. He's too young for me to test it, otherwise I would have tapped into him directly, but...
Vance reached out to ruffle the boy's hair.
I don't want him to be a part of that. When he's 18, he can decide for himself.
How's he going to make it to 18 if he can't eat? That's a good decision, but is it practical?
One problem at a time.
Vincent wandered over and suddenly gave him a hug. Burying his face in his brother's shirt, he nuzzled him like a child nuzzles a favorite toy. Rand looked forlorn, knowing his fate could be a terrible one. Can you call your dad and ask?
Are you kidding? He came after me with an elephant gun just for showing up at the door. He's not gonna tell me shit, and besides, he's an extremely powerful magician. I'm not talking about Harry Potter here, either.
Vance pet his brother's head while he continued to embrace him.
That man is dangerous, especially toward people like me. Hell, he made me like this. If you think trying to contact him won't get us both killed, it took me almost 2 weeks to lose the trail after I took Vince. I had to jump through a lot of hoops, and that's not a metaphor.
How did you end up here anyway? I don't believe in coincidences.
Farthest point I could find from California. Not to mention, Greenville's like a 2-hour drive. It was sort of the first place that popped into my head. Trust me, I'm not stalking you as much as you might like it.
Vance looked down at the boy again.
Ugh, you know.
Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out another air freshener and hung it over him.
I'm gonna need to invest in a baby spray can or something because these things...
He looked at the tree.
Just don't cut it.
Change his diaper, you imbecile.
I don't have diapers. Although if you happen to know any place around here that has free public use of hot water. This house is great for squatting, but unfortunately the plumbing's only so-so. All the pipes are basically shot. I'll admit he could use a bath. Gotta get that gel off his scalp anyway.
You don't have running water? Rain had been there before when her mom had spent all their money on booze and cigarettes. She and her brother had to sneak into the neighbor's yard to use their sprinklers. You have money, why not just rent a hotel?
There's too many people in a hotel, and as you can clearly see,
Vance began while the boy reached out to hug Rain.
Vinny loves everyone. He doesn't understand the world and how cruel it is. He thinks that because he loves things, things will love him.
I love him. Rain found the words spilling forth as she hugged him, pressing her cold cheek against his.
But the world won't. You and I both know what would happen if someone found out. It doesn't matter if he hasn't done anything. They'll kill him just for being what he is. I can't protect him if I don't even know how to protect him from himself.
Vinny's gonna be fine because he has the two of us, Rain said. And since you can't take care of him, we have to let someone else in on this. You can't stay here without water, so I guess you can stay with us.
You?
Vance's eyes widened in both surprise and uncertainty.
Thanks, Rain.
He seemed genuine.
But what about your friend? That woman? I'm good at keeping up a charade, but Vinny? He'll get us both busted the first time he decides to chew on a drape. I can defend myself if I have to, but I'm not worried about me.
I know this is going to seem like a strange concept, but Janny is trustworthy. She's a mom. She'll understand. Vinny will be in good hands. We could explain some of the story, not all of it, and we're buying diapers, beforehand, with your money.
Trustworthy?
Vance didn't look so sure.
As in she'll leave him alone and come after me with a chainsaw?
She might if I tell her you were using air fresheners to mask the smell of his diaper. Rain picked up the child. Ready for a field trip?
Take him downstairs, I got a pack.
A dark void suddenly opened on top of the bed and he began to aimlessly chuck several things down into it.
Weren't you the one who said not to mention anything?
That was before I realized you didn't have running water. We just met. You're trying to save your brother, that's all. Don't tell her about our past because Leah already mentioned it. Vance followed her downstairs once the room had been cleared.
I'm sure she's gonna want to know what she's bringing into her house, Rain. And what do you mean Leah already mentioned it?
She mentioned we were terrorized by a soul eater whose real name is Vance. Don't worry about Vinny. He's a baby. That's all she'll see.
Uh-huh. You know, I have a bad feeling about this.
Come on, you can get over it when we face the stairs at the friggin' pharmacy. Wren left the house in favor of the nearest CVS. Thankfully, no one said anything or the place would have been emptied. Looking toward his brother once they entered the store, Vance pointed a finger at him.
Public, Vinny. No teeth,
he warned while the boy's eyes fell on a Halloween display. You get the diapers. Throwing up his hands, Vance wandered into the toddler aisle in search of Pampers. Vinny, on the other hand, was busy staring at the merchandise. As Rain approached a spooky mask, he smiled and pointed.
Ants,
he said, or at least that's what it sounded like. Ants? Rain looked at him and paused. Was that your first word? Walking over again, Vance had a huge package of diapers in his hands. Holding them up, he closed one eye and tried to match the image on the packaging to the boy's backside.
Yeah, I think these'll fit,
he muttered while Vinny continued to pout.
Ants,
he said again, causing his brother to stop.
What did you just say?
Did he just say his first word? Rain was perhaps more excited than she should have been. Has he ever said anything?
I'm not sure. He makes noises sometimes, but... Ants,
Vinny screamed, and it took Vance a moment of studying before his eyes suddenly narrowed.
Wait a minute.
Clapping his hands, Vincent burst into a fit of laughter.
You insinuating little shit!
Ants sounds a lot like Vance, Rain mused.
You think?
Are you dressing him up? You should be something cute, Vin. Like a pumpkin.
For Halloween?
Vance walked toward the register to pay for the diapers.
I wasn't intending to. I don't really celebrate it.
Why?
I used to, but after everything I've been through, I don't need any reminders.
Celebrating Halloween isn't going to kill you.
It's just not a day I want to remember. Can we drop it?
Rain remained as persistent as ever. What happened that was so terrible?
You know those things in life you just don't want to share with anyone?
I don't celebrate New Year's.
Same basic principle.
Vance followed her in silence, lugging the diapers back to the house.
So wait,
he began as the apartment came into view.
If you said your friend already knows my name, what am I supposed to tell her if she asks?
You lie, or isn't it obvious?
Well, duh.
He rolled his eyes.
I guess, I don't know. This just seems a whole lot like what happened back in Greenville. I really don't want a repeat of that. This Janny. She doesn't know what a soul looks like, does she?
I don't know, Vance. I'm thinking on my feet. Let's just get her to change Vincent. The fumes are disturbing my thought process. Rain held him in one arm and unlocked the door with the other. Pulling it open, the scent of almond oil and jasmine lingered, which meant Janny was in. Home already? Glancing up from her book, gold eyes stopped upon Vincent. Rain, please tell me you didn't have an accident. Is this why you've been so distant? Rain's face burned red. Not in this lifetime. Stepping nervously into the room, Vance's eyebrow floated up the side of his face.
Sorry to disappoint you, madam, but that's my brother.
With a fleeting smile, Jenny walked over to take the boy from Rain's arms. "He is so handsome," she crooned, although she did pause at the smell. "And no one has changed his diaper." Holding up a bag of Huggies, Vance rolled his eyes.
"He came with one. I didn't know you had to change it."
"Children," she shook her head. "So carefree. You need a bath, my love."
"Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here. The, pipes at my place are on the fritz."
It was a half-truth.
"And if he ever wants to have kids of his own someday, well, let's just say the water back home isn't an option."
Looking up as Jenny regarded him, Vincent's silver eyes widened. "What is his name?"
"His name is Vincent."
"First things first, you have to give him a bath. Lukewarm water, we have bubbles, and I'll have to wash those clothes. Rain, show them to the bathroom."
"Let's just get this over with."
Vance shrugged while Vincent reached for him instead. The bathroom was simple yet luxurious. The floor was the color of sand, bearing streaks of white marble, as Janny had spared no expense. All of the fixtures were gold, and there were tiger lilies in a huge vase that sat between two sinks. "He'll smell like vanilla after this," Rain mused as she began to run the water.
"Bet you feel right at home, eh, Vin?"
Vance asked the baby, who seemed to know what was coming and started to clap his hands.
"What the hell is wrong with you, kid? I used to dread the bathtub when I was your age."
"That explains so much."
"Hey, shut up!"
"Make yourself useful and dunk him in. I'm gonna find a comb to clear the gel out of his hair." Looking down at his suit, Vance pursed his lips. With a low groan, he walked over and reached for Vinny, who cooed happily while he began to peel off his clothing.
"If you ruin my suit, I swear to God, child."
"Oh, get over it. It's just a suit." Rain dipped the comb in the water.
"Hey, this suit costs more than you do."
Hesitant to remove the diaper, Vance shook his head and took a few steps back.
"Knock yourself out."
"I'm not touching that. He's your brother. You're taking that bullet." Bringing a hand to his chin, he thought for a second.
"Hey, Rose."
Suddenly, a small black portal appeared and the tiny creature poked its head out. "She's gonna hate you."
"I don't care. Rose, remove that thing from the boy."
Crawling out of the void, which vanished a second later, the minion eyed Vinny as he began to reach for her and swiftly shook her head.
"It's not a request, Rose. Just do it."
"Hurry up before Jenny comes in."
"Ugh, I hate you all so much right now."
Vance bit his lip and with a very uneasy expression used the edge of his nail to pick at the diaper. Vincent grabbed his hair as he did so.
"Hey, you, stop that."
Cutting the last portion of the adhesive, he reeled back as it unfolded, filling the room with the most god-awful smell imaginable. Rose vanished in a blur of black smoke while Vance brought up a hand to cover his mouth. Rain recoiled immediately, pale skin acquiring a green tinge as she hastily stuck her nose against some soap. "Get rid of that thing!" she groaned. Giggling at the bubbles, Vincent started playing with them while Vance was left to dispose of the diaper. Snapping his fingers, he held his breath and the rancid thing burst into a pyre of black flames. Once it was gone, Rain gently began to comb through Vincent's hair. The gel stuck fast, although the more water she ran through it, the more it started to even out. Thankfully, the little boy was too busy playing to notice. "You could help, you know."
"With what? He's not big enough to share."
Vance leaned over to examine the process. Evidently, without the gel, Vincent's hair fell naturally straight. Still a bit of a mop, when it wasn't styled or sopping wet, he looked more like an individual than a Vance clone. Then again, it was rare to see Vancelin without the gel, so that was up for debate. Taking note of a small rubber duck, Vinny began to reach for it.
"What, you want that?"
Vance picked it up and squeaked it in his hand. He's a kid, they like toys. Happily hugging the duck, Vincent closed his eyes and Rain messed his hair.
"He's a spoiled little brat,"
Vance sighed, although his expression bore a hinted smile that quickly faded as his brother opened his mouth and went to bite the head off the toy.
"Vincent, no teeth! I told you before we left, you can't do that here."
Vance took the duck, though paused when Vincent's eyes began to water.
"You want it back, you have to promise me. No teeth, not unless I say."
"Be quiet," Rain hissed at the sound of Janny's footsteps. "Vinny, no."
"Vincent, it's important. You don't want me to get hurt, do you?"
The little boy began to shake his head.
"Well then, for the love of God, no teeth!"
Handing the duck back to him once Janny reached the door, Vincent closed his mouth and stared at the animal with a pout. "Are you three all right? I heard yelling." She was going to say something else before Vincent caught her eye. "What's wrong?"
"He was trying to eat the bubble stuff,"
Vance lied as the duck fell into the water with a splat. "Did you yell at him?" Janny resembled Rain for a moment. Picking Vincent out of the tub, she held up a towel.
"He's my brother. I don't want him to die from drinking bubbles."
"What is yelling going to do about it? Where are his clothes?"
I left them in the other room."
Vance jerked a thumb over his shoulder and rushed out of the bathroom in order to pull a set of child's clothes from void space without being noticed. Returning a few minutes later, he tossed her a pair of jeans and a bright red t-shirt with the words "Little Critter" spelled out across the front. "He is not wearing that hideous shirt," Jenny laughed. "And before you dress him, he needs a diaper."
Hey, watch it. That was mine when I was his age.
Johnny sighed and looked at Rain. Please tell your suitor to get the diapers and find another shirt.
Whoa, wait a minute. Let's get something straight right now,
Vance muttered, kicking the plastic bag of Huggies in their direction.
We are not together. She's just
He looked at Rain for a moment and thought.
Someone I met at the park. If she's in love with anyone, it's him.
He pointed to Vincent, who smiled. And yet she lets you into her home.
We have no freaking water.
Vance threw up his arms and went to tear a diaper out of the package.
Here,
he grumbled.
I don't know how to put it on.
I'm going to show you. Johnny held Vincent to the counter and kept the towel under him. You hold him, she said to Rain. And you, slide the diaper under his bottom. Rolling his eyes, Vance looked as if he were being tortured. You adjust it around his waist and strap it on. It's not rocket science. Just do it.
Easy for you to say.
Finishing with it, he walked off.
There. Now would you people get off my back about it?
Johnny wasn't amused by his mannerisms. Rain took notice and promptly pulled Vincent against her. What do you feed him? Her mentor asked curiously.
Vance
suddenly bit his lip.
Why don't you let me take care of that? He'll only take food from me anyway.
Rain was like that as well. She bought the excuse with ease. She was so cute as an infant.
Really? You, a cute infant? Somehow I can't imagine that.
Shut your face.
Shut yours.
I have pictures, Johnny smiled.
I'd like to see those.
Still holding Vincent, Rain glared. Johnny, if you show him pictures, I'll hang myself. Johnny dismissed her empty threat and immediately left the room. You guys can sit in the den. I'll bring out the snacks and the pictures, she said gleefully. Chuckling to himself, Vance walked over and ruffled Vincent's hair.
What do you say, kid? You want to see pictures?
He grinned menacingly.
Karma's a bitch, huh?
They're just pictures. Big deal. Resting his head on Rain's shoulder, Vincent stared into space while Vance began to gather his clothes.
Give him to me for a second. Kid's gotta have his dignity. I don't want him running around in nothing but a diaper.
He's still more fashionable than you. Taking the boy, Vance set him down and dressed him. Tugging his hair, Vincent seemed to have a penchant for doing so, and his brother reached up to brush him away.
You gonna behave for me, Vin? You gonna be a good boy and remember what I told you?
Vincent nodded.
Good.
Picking him up again, Vance shuffled him onto his shoulder and looked back at Rain.
I don't know how you hold this kid for so long. He weighs a ton.
I would think you'd have enough upper body strength to hold him, she said snidely before walking into the living room. Setting Vincent on the sofa, Vance positioned himself across its arm. Since your parents are on vacation and you have no water, will you be staying with us? Jenny placed down a tray of chips and dip. She also laid a small photo album at her side.
I don't know.
Vance's expression became grim and he went to rub his neck. Who takes care of him while you're at school?
School? I haven't been in school in,
He shook his head.
I've been out of high school for a while.
How old are you?
Almost 19,
he said honestly. Oh, so you graduated?
I what?
He graduated, Ren answered for him. I see. It seems as though she were waiting for the right moment to voice her suspicions like a cat who waited for a mouse to make a run for the fridge. Vance gave an uneasy nod as Vincent finished his chips and began to chew on the plate.
Hey, get that out of there!
Let him eat, Johnny insisted.
The plate?
No, the chips. Rain, why don't you let... She frowned. I don't recall getting your name.
My name? Anth, Vincent announced. Hush up, you. Here.
Vance gave him another piece of styrofoam, which he was more than happy to continue chewing.
My name's, Peter,
he said with a smirk. Peter? Johnny arched an eyebrow. Peter what?
Chance.
Cutting his last name in half, Vance wasn't sure how much Leah had told her, but it was the first thing that came to mind. I almost expected Parker. So you said you met Rain at the park? How did that happen? She doesn't talk to strangers.
See this?
He pointed toward his brother.
That's how.
You started asking me for help. Rain was unwilling to seem as though she'd initiated the conversation.
Yeah, whatever.
Vance rolled his eyes, which came to rest a few seconds later across the album.
So, pictures,
he said with a grin. Johnny opened it to reveal a baby Rain. She couldn't have been any older than 5, nor any messier. A tiny thing, even for a toddler. She stared at the camera with large blue eyes and a face covered in spaghetti sauce. Wow! All children are messy, Rain hissed. Here's another. Jenny pointed to one that showed Rain asleep and drooling on a large cat plushie.
Hey look, you drool in your sleep too!
Vance kept the remark discreet, although he was sure she would catch his meaning. Meanwhile, Vinny reached for the plate again. Unable to get it, he gave a pout.
Anth,
he demanded.
You know, I should probably get him something real to eat. Pretzels and chips aren't going to do him much good.
I'm sorry, I don't have any baby food. If you want, I can make him something. I wouldn't mind.
That's all right. He's on a special diet.
Vance chose his words carefully.
Like I said, he doesn't take food from anyone but me. I'll just bring him upstairs and take care of it myself.
He went to pick up the boy, who clung to him without hesitation. So am I to assume you two are staying with us? Jenny asked.
Can I get a room to myself and guarantee nobody is going to walk in?
This isn't a hotel, she stiffened. This is my home, and I respect my guests' privacy, but I do not tolerate disrespect.
I'm not disrespectful, I'm cautious.
Cautious against what? You came here to ask for help and then deny my hospitality? Wren rubbed her face.
No, that's not what Ugh.
Vance sighed.
Maybe I should just go.
Once again, his brother went to pull his hair.
Yeah, I know you're hungry, Vinny. I'll get you something in a bit. Look, I appreciate the help. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not sure about staying over somebody's place. I've had, let's call them bad experiences.
That is unfortunate, Jenny said calmly. You mentioned you were Rain's friend. I only extended the courtesy because of it. She looked at her protege, who still seemed embarrassed by the exchange.
Yeah, well, history for me tends to repeat itself. I guess maybe we could stay for one night.
He relented, although was still uncertain. Smiling broadly, Jenny clapped her hands. Shall I make dinner, then? All traces of doubt had vanished from her face.
Let me just go upstairs and put him to bed. He's gonna get cranky if I don't.
Of course, she nodded. Do you need help?
I think I can handle it. I'm gonna feed him first.
Offering a nod, Wren walked to the kitchen to aid Jenny. Your friend is quite odd, she commented as the girl tensed. He's got it rough at home. He's 19 and taking care of his brother. What guy do you know wants to do that? In my day, taking care of family was just doing the right thing. Jenny began to slice through numerous vegetables. I cannot quite place what is wrong with this picture, Rain, but I trust you. Despite your misgivings, your heart has always been in the right place.